it went. They went bankrupt. How do we recoup some of our money? It's high on the attorney list to take them to court. We lose money, and our projects are not finished. That's the problem. It's not what's coming in, it's what's going out. I propose that our budget be a line item budget, where every single thing coming in and going out is accounted for. You would not run your budget like some of the things that are going on. When you go home, you know what you spent on groceries, you know what you have coming in, you allot for your recreation and your utilities and your HOA fees. You run your budget as a line item budget, okay? We need to run the same thing here. We need to know where our money's going before we change it. Once we change it, we need the same accountability. Because right now, we don't know if we need more money. We don't know. We know what we have coming in. We don't know what's going out. We have several projects. Please don't disrupt me. Yeah, but you are, because now you keep raising your hand and I can't keep my train of thought. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay? Right now, we have projects that are not finished. I propose we finish them. Let's finish the sign, let's finish the wainscoting, let's fix the floor, let's make sure the pool is up to standard before we start another thing. Do not ask for new cars, do not ask for anything new until what is started is finished. It's simple. I run my house like that. I run my father's affairs like that. I know every penny, where it goes, how much I have for painting my ceilings, how much I have for planting flowers every single month. I do not say, oh, I'll grab it here, and I'll put it here, and I'll do this, and have a running flow of things that I cannot account for. It's simple. We are all the same. We want the same thing for Brookridge. We love our community. I came here under very trying circumstances. I lived in Silverthorne. I paid a lot of money, $684 quarterly for HOA fees, okay? I came here looking for a simple life where I could afford to live, and it is a nice place. I've owned many residences. I would like extra time. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your concern. I appreciate it. I have owned many residences in here, and I bought them to fix them up because I was tired of looking at them. They are dirty, they were moss-ridden, they were overgrown, the floors were spongy. I went in and rehabilitated them and sold them. Not to make money, but because I wanted my street, my community to look nice. I live on Sandhurst, and Sandhurst is a beautiful street, and I just heard that the roads are going to be repaved in the near future, which I didn't know, but I just found out yesterday. So these are the kinds of things we all want. We're not enemies of each other. When you are divided, nothing gets accomplished. When you are united, everything can be accomplished. There are no obstacles. There is nothing that can happen that isn't good when people converse, have proper discourse, and are on the same page. There's nothing bad about asking for accountability. There is nothing wrong with that. Gail Metcalf, I had raised my hand, I was in the back.
Ms. Metcalf, proceed.
Thank you. Gail Metcalf, Unit 6. I have to say to you, that was the nicest thing that you said, especially after about Silverthorne. I totally applaud you. I'm glad that you said that because we need to be united. I just have a question. The reports that the public gets, they're not all line items. They're just bulk items. But I just want to ask the question, when the treasurer is doing, when the manager and the bookkeeper are doing their bookkeeping, I believe we are each line item. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay, so I just want people to, I just want everyone to understand that it is separate line items. We probably have about 20 pages. What we get is the outside, and I believe that that's information that you can go to the office and you can look at that. So that's, they don't pull it out of a bulk. It is each line item. I just wanted to get that clarification.
From the back?
Good morning. Vivian Blair, Unit 4. I just have a information question, please, Mr. Ross, or whoever's in charge of the sign, e-sign. It's going to say on there a golf community, is that correct?
We'll have on there, I believe, the same wording that was on the old sign.
Has the golf community donated to that sign?
Almost every golfer in this association donated to
That's
that
not the
sign.
question that I asked, sir. Not the people that are on the, like you and Mr. Sajak. Has the golf community, the clubhouse, whatever their board is, have they donated to the sign?
Have they made a direct donation from their budget? No.
Right. But we're giving them half of our fall festival proceeds. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Terry Himmons. I live in Unit 4. I'm very happy to live in Brookridge. It's a great place to live. That said, I think we're fractured right now. And I think we're fractured for a reason. Those of you that have been coming to meetings know that my big issue is the deed restriction and the vagueness of the wording that's in it. It's not what I want to talk about today. First thing I'd like to ask the board is very simple. When you have your Wednesday board meetings, we get an agenda handed or on the table when we walk in, and on the back of it is a financial report. I feel somewhat insulted for someone to sit on the stage and read that report to me. All of us can read. I would rather have someone on the board be able to answer questions about that report. Secondly, we're in the process of voting right now on a new budget. We don't know how that's going to turn out. But I would say to the board, no matter how it turns out, you guys have kind of been implying that we're in dire financial straits. And if that's true, I think you need to look at the decisions that the board has made over the past 6 or 8 months. And when a man asked you how many of you have seen a contract, none of you raised your hand. To me, that was a little scary. So if you're taking advice from someone and acting on that advice, that someone needs to go. Because there's been a lot of flub-ups in the last 6 to 8 months. I'm not sure anybody's ever going to know how much this clubhouse renovation is costing. But I was sitting there last month at the Wednesday meeting thinking that we're probably approaching or over $200,000, and you couldn't even have enough microphones that work. I was embarrassed for you. I guess the thing I want to say most today, I'm going to ask the board to consider a motion soon to place a moratorium on all non-essential expenditures. And I'll do better than you. I'm going to define non-essential. Non-essential is anything that doesn't help the day-to-day operations of Brookridge. And when we're on sound financial feet, then consider fixing the things that are wrong. Now my time's up, so I guess I'll sit down.
Okay, Lucille Dwyer, Unit 4. Two things I want to bring up, if they can be answered. Thank you. First, I found out recently that anybody that didn't vote electronically for whatever reason, if they show up here at Clubhouse on the 19th, they'll have to sign something to get them out of electronic voting in order to vote. Is that correct?
No,
It's because that's the information I was given when I checked at the office.
you were given incorrect information by one of the employees there.
Okay, thank you very
That
much.
is not true. If you signed up to vote electronically and you could not, if you come here on the 19th with photo ID, they'll check to make sure you haven't voted and you can vote.
Okay, is that the same too, that if you didn't vote electronically, that's why you didn't get a mail-in ballot?
That would be correct.
Okay, thank you, that takes care of that. Sorry for any misleading information. I just accepted it as fact, and now I'm getting verification. Okay, the second thing is safety. Last night there was an incident, a gas leak. It was real. It wasn't a minor thing. There was an underground tank that was put there many years ago. And the new owner of about a year didn't know until a neighbor mentioned it, because she sort of remembered that. There was no gas going into the house, but what happened is he was beginning to dig with a shovel and he hit a valve and it caused a leak. So a lot of trucks had to come in, gas maintenance people and also fire trucks. And people had to be evacuated for safety. They fixed the leak. It's going to be handled today safely to take out what's left of propane gas. It's underground. Nobody knew it was there, not many people. When the person first called the gas company that had put it in, because he saw the information, he was told, oh no, that was emptied and cement was put in its place. It's perfectly okay. There was a leak. I think it was mentioned there was like 70% of gas, propane gas, that was still in there. They're dealing with it now. My question being asked right now is, how can the board designate the right people to check the history of Brookridge? Because at one time, I guess it was acceptable to put an underground propane tank. How many more are underground, and have they been carefully sealed? Thank you.
Underground tanks are allowed in Brookridge. Gas tanks have to be buried, that's in here, and they are allowed, but they do have to be buried. If the homeowner didn't know they were there, it was a homeowner that sold it, and the realtor's neglect for not telling them it was there. For us to know where any underground tanks are, unless they're reported to Brookridge, we wouldn't know.
Okay, but what I'm saying here is the person that bought the property didn't even know, and it might have been 2 or 3 property owners before that placed that tank there, and they are illegal to be putting in the tank, right? Is it illegal in Brookridge to order up an underground tank and to use gas, propane gas for
You
your
can have
house?
propane tank in Brookridge for gas, yes, it has to be buried, yes, has to be 10 feet away from the home.
Oh, okay, so basically, Again, clarification, thank you very much. So do you have any idea, personally, do you have any idea how many tanks are underground right now?
Personally, no, I have no idea how many are underground right now.
Because this problem was that it wasn't carefully sealed by removing the gas and putting in cement. And that's what the person was told when he called that company. Oh, don't worry, it was taken care of. It wasn't. It was bypassed. And I just want that to be an issue to be concerned about. Thank you.
I would say that anybody feels that they might have a gas tank buried on their property, the only way they're gonna find out would be to call a gas company and have them come and do a survey of the ground. They should be able to find it if it's there. Other member comments on the left-hand side? Mr. Harrison, I'll give you a moment. 10, 9, 8, 7.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Before I get started, I'm going to hand a piece of
Name and unit, please.
Paul Harrison, Unit 4. Sorry, Ron, it's down pat by now. I'm going to hand you a paper, Ron, of all the residents who have ceded their time to me this morning. So, Ray, you can turn off your clock, please. First thing I'd like to say is, at the last board meeting, I'd like to correct a statement that I had made at the October 16th meeting. I had stated that, and it was questions you got on next door, that I had said that we will start the finishing of the wainscoting next year. I should have stated that was, I had a conversation with Vince, and talking to Vince, he said they will not start the finishing of this wainscoting till next April at the earliest. I think the reasons would be probably because we have the snowbirds. But we don't have to wait for that, ladies and gentlemen. We're using a water-based paint, which is no odor at all. Our committee did it. We had samples. So if they want to get started, they can. Again, I don't know how much money is in the budget, or they're going to have to send out bids to get this done. My second thing is, to Ray, you had given us a bunch of figures at the beginning of what it costs to continue or finish what we had up to now on the total clubhouse renovation. What is the total of those figures, individual figures, that you had given to us?
I don't have any.
Well, can you add them up and give me a figure while I'm talking?
Yeah.
What's so hard, Mr. Giroux?
Mr. Ross, you want to handle this? This isn't a question and answer period. This is a meeting with an agenda to follow. If you have questions, that chart that everybody got had a grand total at the bottom.
Yeah, 170,000, yes.
There it is. That's your total, line by line.
Oh.
Mr. Ross?
That's correct.
About the sign, we know we're short money. I may have been on vacation, Linda. Why was the design just changed?
The design was changed to cut the cost because the original design was $40,000 to $60,000.
Right, but we eliminated that.
Yes,
Like that hump.
and we got Linda Stewart, who works on a lot of signs, or who has worked on a lot of signs in the Chicago area. And she said, she came to me and said, I think we can get the sign done a lot cheaper. So she became our project manager. She lives in Brookridge. She's a snowbird. She's going to be back here pretty soon, I think within the next week or so. And she went around to 14 different contractors to get bids. We got bids from 4 of them. And we went with the company that we went with. She was able, because she does still have her license in the Chicago area, and she was able to get us a 40% discount on all the letters for both sides of the sign. The sign, I think, has a total of 104 letters. And so she saved us quite a bit of money that way. She saved us quite a bit of money with doing, instead of the original company really was going to be just the main contractor, and then they would subcontract. We were the subcontractors and saved the money that way. And we've had some bumps along the way with it, but I got a letter from Linda, and it's on the bulletin board, so anybody can look at the letter, and it's posted in the clubhouse here. I think there's maybe 3 different places it's posted. But
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Like I say, it could be that also people who did donate it for the sign in the beginning were seeing the design as it should have been.
and I understand, but okay.
Design change was announced about 4 months ago and explained why the design change was. There were some people that had given bids and pledges that they would give funds, and we went to each of those persons and asked them if they wanted to continue with that same pledge or not. There were a couple that said no, others said yes. So that design change was announced and made about 4 months ago, I believe now.
I was on vacation. Thank you. Ron, at the September 18th meeting, I got up and stated that the treasurer's report made no sense. You had asked me to do a workup, which I did, and at the October 1st workshop, I gave it to you. After the board meeting on October the 16th, I went up on stage and we talked, had a nice conversation, and at that time you said to me, you haven't had a chance to look at it yet. Now we hear, it's now November the 5th, no report was given on the workup that I gave you. I don't know what your thought is on this. Are you trying to shove it under the rug so nobody sees it? I can't answer that. Only you can.
Yeah, Paul, I'm trying to shove it under the rug. The report was given on the report with the treasurer's report and where it came from. It was redesigned in 2015. It was redesigned by members who were on the board then with public input. That's the information that was requested on the current report we have. I've taken that report, laid it down next to yours. Still looking at a couple of things because it takes time to work through everything. But you've got some information today as to why and where the report came from, and the information was taken from the residents, and the CPA firm, auditing firm that had our books in 2015 was the firm that came back and said, based on the information you have, this is the report layout you'd use.
Okay, also, why we are taking money out of the operating budget every month to put it to fund the reserves. On that treasurer's report, it doesn't show how much money each month is coming out of that treasurer's report of the operating budget and going into the reserve account. It's blank. Nobody knows here. In fact, there's no report showing how much of our assessment fees goes into that reserve account each month also. It's a very inaccurate treasurer's report as far as I'm concerned. You can't make heads or tails out of it. Also, October 16th meeting, I was up on stage talking to you, Ron. Like I said, we had a conversation. I turned around and Mr. Giroux was standing there. And he says to me, "Do not call me by my name anymore. I am the general manager." I think that was very unprofessional. It was appalling.
Please, with the verbal attacks, please.
Once again,
You can state it, but
once again, I asked you not to use my name in your statements. Use the title of the GM
But
told
other
me.
people could call you
GM.
Ray, and they could get away with it, Ray.
You were, again, ranting on Vince and myself about something that you tell me, which is hearsay. So, Mr. Ross?
I'm not saying it's hearsay, it's what you told to me.
your question?
As I continue on, I'm going to read some paragraphs from our standard operating procedures. The budget expenditures, general manager's permit for $500, board president $2,500, BOD $2,500 to $10,000, requires sealed bids. So that would have to be voted on by the board of directors. The retainage fee of 10% is required on all construction projects above $25,000. Final payment to be made after a complete written 30-day review by the general manager or president to ensure completion and construct in satisfactory condition. All contracts must be in writing with a completion date with specified penalty, if not on a stated completion date, whenever possible. All contracts, I'm not reading everything, all contracts must include a progress payment schedule. Strive to obtain the maximum value for each dollar spent. I don't think, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting the most buck for our dollar that's coming out of here. And I'll just take one for instance. The bathrooms over here in the clubhouse. It was in the reserve funding report. We had set aside $50,000 in the 2017-2018 reserve account. We spent $85,000 plus to get those bathrooms updated. Why didn't we get what we had in our account to see what the contractor could provide for that amount of money? We went over by that amount, which I think is a waste of our money spending wise. April 2nd workshop meeting. Mr. Giroux has a board shown to the board. I looked at everything over on YouTube, showing the wainscoting on one side, and flipped it over, and there was the tile, and he had recommended to go with the lighter colored tile. People looking at on YouTube at home, all they saw was Mr. Giroux's back. They didn't get an opportunity, if they weren't here, to see what was on that one side. Also, the board approved a 16 by 16 upgrade to that. So we paid for an upgrade, which was approved. The total amount of that package with wainscoting, $22,184, $102,076 for the floor, total $124,260. I'd like to know who picked out the wainscoting and who picked out the tile for, color-wise.
The tile that was picked out was the tile that was showed to the board, which the board approved. When the board approved the thicker tile, the color on the supposed white tile became a little darker than the original tile that was laid out, and the tile was approved from there. Wainscoting from current memory right now, I can't tell you if the board looked at wainscoting that was going to be put up, or we were looking at wainscoting that would be similar to what we've had. I can't answer that question.
No, I'm just saying, but Mr. Giroux flipped over the board and there was wainscoting on that one side. And the tile, there was, from what I could gather, there had to be at least 4, 6 tiles on there to choose from. Yes, there was. I looked at that there, YouTube, and it was on there repeatedly. Reserve funding, at that time, Mr. Giroux said you had $212,263 in it. You were adding $27,000 by the end of the year, bringing that total to $239,263. Minus, at that point, $124,260, leaving us a balance of $115,003, end of the year. Frank asked at that meeting, could we go see what type of work this contractor had done? The board voted yes on this $124,000, and they said they would look into to see if this gentleman, what type of work he had done. My other question to you is, prior to signing any contracts, was Nature Coast checked out through the Business Bureau to see if there were any judgments or liens? We don't know that, do we? Board meeting of April 17th. Mr. Giroux says the funding for the tire reserve fund will be $319,900, adding $39,890 to it. That'll be for 10 months. That'll be what we have at the end of the year. I'm on YouTube on April 18th. Mr. Giroux and Ron signed a contract with Nature Coast. And in there, ladies and gentlemen, there was an additional $10,040 and change for the upgrade to the floor for a thicker tile. Remember, April 18th. The board meeting of April 17th. No board voted at that meeting. I reviewed that tape over and over and over. There is no board vote, ladies and gentlemen, to pay this extra $10,040. So Mr. Ross, where was this vote taken?
The board gave consensus before that meeting started, I've stated that before, for the approval of the other $10,000 and odd dollars. And I'll answer your question on the Better Business Bureau. No, Better Business Bureau was not pulled. Had we pulled a Better Business Bureau on the date that we signed the contract, we would have found on there that there were 9 complaints in 15 years.
Still complaints.
3 complaints of those 9 were after he was hired. So in 15 years prior to that, we would have found 6 complaints. 2 of those were resolved, 1 answered, and 3 others unanswered in 15 years. That's what we would have found.
Did you check to see if there were any liens or judgments against him?
In the Better Business Bureau?
No, other places.
No. In vetting contracts, if you go to the website and look at how to vet contracts, nowhere in any of the required or approved or information that people put out on how to vet contracts is it ever mentioned or required or asked for or suggested that you check for judgments against companies.
Again, Mr. Ron, where did this board vote on that increase? It was not done at a meeting, at a regular board meeting or a workshop meeting.
You're absolutely correct. It was done by consensus. The one mistake I've made at this point is that consensus wasn't brought back to the meeting for a verification at the next board meeting.
So you did something illegally?
Yeah, you sure did.
Yes, you did.
Paul, I'm gonna stop you for just a quick second, okay? And then you can have all the rest of the time you want, okay?
No.
I'm gonna give you a couple pieces of information. One, if we got a problem with paying the golf course money, I'm sure we can go to the golf board and they would be glad to rescind the offer to use the golf course to raise any funds. Second on this whole thing, since I've been accused of holding illegal meetings and putting things together, and probably, you know, folks probably think I put Brookridge in jeopardy. The only meetings that I've ever had by the board, by any email, was requesting information from people as to how the board felt about subjects. Since it seems that I've lost maybe the approval of the people and the confidence of the board, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to step down as of now, and I'm going to hand the microphone to the vice president. Hey, I'm not doing it for applause. I've never quit anything in my life. But I'll tell you what, you know, people say you got to have thick skin, and I guarantee you got to have thick skin. I was a financial officer for the Northeast United States, dealt with 300 congregations, 300 boards, and I've never had things thrown at me and accusations made that have been made here. Words mean something, words hurt. If you don't believe it, then by gosh, put your name up, run for the board, and come and do a better job. That's all I'm asking. I gave you 4 years. I wanted to be involved in the community. I'm still going to live here, and I'm going to still deal with stuff. But I'm sorry, and I'm sorry I lost your confidence. I'm sorry you don't like me. I'm sorry you think I did a rotten job, okay? But as of this point forward, I remove my name as president of the board. I remove my name from the board.
Ron, rescind that, Ron.
I do not accept that resignation.
You sit down until I'm finished.
You are finished.
Sit down.
Point of order to the board.
Mr. Ross said I can continue when you
I
guys
have something about the meeting. Point of order to the board. Okay, Robert's rules. I have a question. I would like to know how much more time this gentleman has.
He's had 3 times as much time as
No, but he, no, he
13 signatures at 6 minutes apiece.
that is three. That is
3 plus an additional 3.
Come on.
Okay. Also,
Well, all I gotta say is, the first meeting I come to.
the board, in our procedures, we have a payment plan worked out. What was the payment plan for this renovation? Nothing was ever mentioned. We gave this contractor $87,000 up front. 65% of what the total amount of this project. Nothing was ever said what the remaining payments would be.
Tom, anybody else need to speak?
Yes, I need to.
My time is not up, Ron. Excuse me. Just sit down, Gail, please. I'm bringing up facts of what went on in the board meetings.
We have heard this. We have heard.
I am going meeting by meeting, Gail.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I think this whole board deserves to resign, except the 3 new members that came on. I don't want your job. I want the